right, everybody, coming back from the break, waking up on a Saturday morning. If you just turned on your radio, we're calling Business to Business Radio because we network at a high speed with real estate agents all throughout the valley and other businesses. Our co-host is
Jeff Obrasky, Homeowners Financial Group.
Excellent. And our next guest is Fred. Introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, my name is Fred Ray. I'm with AZ and Associates, and I've been a real estate agent for 10 years plus now.
Mm-hmm. And do you mainly focus on the west side, or you cover the valley? Give us a little bit about that background.
Yeah, most of the home sales that I do are on the west side.
Mm-hmm. And you work with buyers and sellers. Kind of an interesting, tell us a little bit about, you've had some interesting experiences with it was the South Phoenix area, Southern and 18th Avenue, 19th Avenue area, or 65th Avenue. What was that?
Absolutely. There's a neighborhood right by 75th Avenue.
75th Avenue.
Yeah, right.
That's Levine, isn't it, guys? Or are we close to it?
It's still Phoenix.
Is it still
75th Avenue?
You're asking Scottsdale, boy, where 75th Avenue is. I'm sorry.
But, there's people in
the football stadium's out there somewhere.
People don't know.
And I do a lot of loans out there, so I'm just making fun.
And it's still farmland.
Yeah, there's lots of dairies. And so I got a call from a gentleman that lives out there, or he used to live out there on 75th Avenue and Broadway. And he says, Fred, I want to sell my house. I said, well, fantastic. Why don't you tell me why you're looking to sell right now?
Motivation.
And this was back in January. So he says, well, Fred, I'm just kind of tired of the area. I live by the dairies. I said, what is it about the dairy that is kind of turning you off about that section? I remember selling you this home many years ago, and you were totally in love with it. He says, well, let me tell you a story. He says, my 10-year-old daughter just had a birthday party. And I set up, I made some barbecue in the back, had her friends come over and their families, and we intended to be out in the backyard. And what happened is, because of the neighborhood that we're in, there were tons of flies, and these flies were everywhere.
Yep.
And
I live in Gilbert. I live in Gilbert. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so these flies just made it miserable for them. And at that moment, something in his mind just clicked. And he decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to put my house up for sale. I'm going to call Fred, and I'm going to go ahead and have him put it for sale. And so we actually moved him out close to Westgate. We sold his house. We put it up for sale, and I got him into contract into a new home. It's actually a home that's maybe about 6 or 7 years old out there by the Westgate.
Which is near the football stadium,
correct.
Right,
yes.
Guys? Okay.
And he's totally in love with it. And that's kind of what I deal with. I deal with a lot of people who maybe I sold some houses to in the mid-2000s. And so now they're coming back on the market, looking for to better their quality of life. Mm-hmm. They're going
it's called the step-up market. Yes. What a novel concept.
Yeah.
You buy a house, you live there normally 5 to 7 years, now 11 to 13.
Because you sold this house to them at the right time, right?
Yeah, they bought it.
What year was it?
2009.
See, right at the bottom of the market, so they got a good deal.
Yeah, they took, after selling it, they took probably about $40,000, and they went out and bought a house at about $190,000. So they were able to give just over $40,000 down.
Right. So they stepped up. They went from $150,000 to a $200,000 home. They reinvested their profits in the new home. So now they've got a bigger, better, nicer, closer home, and not terribly much different in payment, correct?
Yeah, what was the monthly payment? Basically same thing.
Pretty similar.
Almost equal to what they were paying before, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because when I sold them the house back then, I think that the house, and it was a very nice house back in 2009 that they got for, I believe, 140 or somewhere in that price range between 140 and 150. So with the equity that they made buying a house at almost 200,000, and they were able to give $40,000 down.
Fantastic.
Basically, they put in a difference of maybe $10,000 on their loan, so their payment went up very little.
Now, do you have, before we run out of time here, did you have any listings or anything that you would like to promote? I know you kind of work like a therapist.
I think most of his listings are under contract, right?
Yeah. I do have several listings. All of them right now are under contract. And that's kind of the way that the market is going right now.
It's fast.
A lot of the homes that I sell are priced around 200 or just under. So in that, the average price for a home in Phoenix is a little higher. So these are especially good bargains at that price. So they'll tend to stay on the market maybe for 1 or 2 days before they go into contract. But there's still a lot of nice houses out there. And that's what I was talking about. A lot of these people that we did sell a house to many years ago, 5, 6 years ago, what they're doing now is increasing their quality of life. They're moving in from Buckeye. They're moving in from Avondale.
The far out areas.
Yeah, and they want to be more central. I had this one family. She lived on the west side of Avondale, and she would commute her daughter all the way over there. And she's been doing this for like 4 years now. She would commute her daughter every morning because she didn't like the schools that were in her area, and she would bring her daughter to school. There's a church that has a school on 19th Avenue in Osborne. So she was coming from about 125th and Van Buren every day, Monday through Friday. And sometimes she would say, Fred, driving her to school back and forth, I'm wasting about 2 hours a day.
I was going to say, that's got to be 30 to 45 minutes each way.
Yeah.
And gas
during
and money.
Rush hour. Yeah. And so what happened is that because they had other children too, and she'd have to go and drop them off at other places.
And sports.
And sports, and so it limited.
And practice.
It really limited their lifestyle. And so that's what they chose to do. She said, Fred, you know what, we got to get, and she was somebody who lost her house back in 2008. And so that's where
So you did find her a beautiful home in that area. She fell in love with it. Let's get a phone number, because you're like, we had to put on your card, you're the therapist realtor, because you find out exactly what they want. You really feel it. How do they reach you? What's your phone number?
602-751-5843.
And website?
houseontheblock.com.
Houseontheblock.com. Phone number one more time.
602-751-5843.
It's Jeff and Homeowners, 602-445-9094.
Fantastic. Guys, we're going to do another break here. 123bz.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.